Have you ever found yourself standing in the middle of your own kitchen, looking around and feeling an invisible weight pressing down on you? A quiet kind of chaos, born from the very objects that were supposed to make your life easier. Drawers jammed tight, sighing every time you try to pull them open, only to reveal a mess of utensils you probably have not touched in an entire year. The countertop, which should be the stage for your creativity, now overtaken by cold machines, blenders, juicers, air fryers, toasters, each one with a single function, and each one stealing a little more of your space, a little more of your peace. I know that feeling. I have been there too. I once believed that a professional kitchen was a kitchen overflowing with tools, that the more gadgets I had, the more elegant and effortless cooking would become. So I bought a pasta maker that I only used once, on a weekend. I bought a set of dozens of knives, half of which stayed quietly, tucked away in the block, gathering a soft layer of dust from time. The kitchen, the heart of the home, slowly turned into a storage room for unfinished promises, a museum of short-lived excitement. My energy was drained not by cooking itself, but by the battle against clutter. I was tired of cleaning up a battlefield after every meal, tired of hunting for just a little clear space on the cutting board, tired of feeling overwhelmed in the very place I loved the most. And then, I decided to stop. My journey did not begin with buying more, but with letting go. I turned to the philosophy of Japan, where beauty lies in simplicity, where function is honored, and where quality is worth more than 1,000 pieces of quantity. I learned to treasure the tools that do not just perform one task, but many doing each of them with excellence. And you know what? I was truly astonished to realize that with just a handful of items crafted with heart and intelligence, I could replace almost all of those bulky machines. Cooking was no longer a race against recipes. It became a ritual, a natural flow. Each slice, each gentle stir in the pan, became a moment of stillness. Today, I want to invite you to step onto that path with me. I will not only show you the 7 Japanese kitchen tools that transformed the way I cook, but also how they gave me back my peace. Together, let us uncover the extraordinary power hidden inside these humble objects and how they can help you clear away the chaos, so you can rediscover the true joy of your kitchen. 1. The Santoku knife, soul of the kitchen. The very first item that changed everything? It was the Santoku knife. If a Japanese kitchen were a temple, then the Santoku would be the soul that resides within it. But before I speak about it, allow me to take you back to my old knife drawer. It was not a drawer at all. It was a graveyard of unfinished ambitions. Lying there was a massive Western-style chef's knife, heavy and imposing. The one I once believed would turn me into a king of the kitchen. In reality, it left my wrist aching after only a few minutes of chopping onions. Next to it, a tiny paring knife that always seemed to vanish at the exact moment I needed it. Then there was the serrated bread knife, existing only for the rare loaf I cut perhaps once a month. And of course, the fillet knife, slender, gleaming, beautiful, and so intimidating that I never dared to use it, for fear of ruining both the fish and the blade. That entire collection was a daily reminder of excess. Every time I opened the drawer, I did not hear the clink of metal. I heard the whisper of unnecessary complexity, the weight of too many choices, and then the Santoku arrived. It did not announce itself loudly. It simply appeared, resting humbly in my hand, and completely shifted my perception of preparing a meal. Santoku, 3 virtues, 3 uses. Even in its name, there was already a promise of simplicity. Is slicing, dicing, and mincing. That is all. Not a specialist for one single task, but an artist versatile enough for everything that truly matters. The moment I held it, I felt the difference. It was lighter, perfectly balanced, as if it were a natural extension of my arm rather than a foreign tool. Its blade, almost straight with only the gentlest curve near the tip, invited a rhythmic up and down motion, a dance of efficiency rather than a struggle of brute force. The first virtue it taught me was respect for ingredients. My old chef's knife tended to tear rather than cut. It crushed delicate greens. It forced the juice out of a tomato before it even reached the plate. But the Santoku, forged from fine Japanese steel, simply glided, one smooth, decisive stroke. You could hear the sharpness itself, a subtle shh, as it sliced through a cucumber, leaving behind a glistening, glass-like surface, preserving its freshness and structure. Mincing garlic was no longer smashing it into pulp, but gently releasing each layer of fragrance. That was the moment I realized good food does not begin over the fire. It begins on the cutting board. Sharpness is not only about the blade, but about clarity of purpose, yet the true magic revealed itself as I discovered its other virtues. The Santoku's moderate thickness allowed it to crush lemongrass or ginger with ease, replacing the bulky meat mallet gathering dust in the corner. And the wide, flat face of the blade that was a quiet revolution. After chopping a handful of scallions, I could simply tilt the knife and use its side like a tiny shovel, scooping everything neatly into the hot pan. No more clumsy scraping with my hands. No more scattering ingredients across the counter. A small action, but it restored flow, an unbroken rhythm in the creative process. Even the tip carried unexpected grace. Sharp and nimble enough to core a pineapple eye, to hull a strawberry, or carve delicate patterns into a mushroom for garnish. Tasks that once forced me to pause and switch to a paring knife now required nothing more than a subtle twist of the wrist. No, it is not perfect for filleting a large fish like a restaurant professional might, but for a family meal, it handles a fillet of salmon with astonishing ease. And so, one afternoon while cleaning up, I did something I had never imagined. I put away the chef's knife, the paring knife, the serrated knife. I gave away the meat mallet and the food scraper. My knife drawer, once a cluttered chaos, became a calm, empty space. And at the center of that space stood the Santoku. It was no longer just a tool, it was a philosophy. Each time I hold it, I do not only feel the balance of steel in my palm, I feel the balance within my mind, a reminder that we do not need more, we only need better, less, but containing everything. 2. The Yukihira pot, the diligent heart. If the Santoku knife is the soul, then the Yukihira pot is the diligent heart. Take a look at your own kitchen cabinet. Perhaps you are like I once was, owning an entire bulky collection, a massive pasta pot, a non-stick pan just for eggs, a heavy cast iron Dutch oven that feels like a workout each time you lift it off the shelf. They shine, they promise some illusion of professionalism, and they consume every inch of space. In the middle of such an imposing orchestra, the Yukihira pot is easy to overlook. The first time I saw one, I dismissed it. A thin stainless steel body, a simple wooden handle, and a hammered surface marked with dents. To my eyes back then, it looked crude, fragile, almost weak. I asked myself, how could anyone love something so plain? I was wrong. I was seeing through the eyes of someone who craved complexity, forgetting that true mastery often hides in the most humble form. The day I brought my first Yukihira home was not out of belief, but out of curiosity. That was the day my kitchen began to breathe again. This little pot, the Yukihira, is a poem of versatility. The first lesson it taught me was the value of time. Its thin walls are not a weakness, but a quiet superpower. It is a conductor of heat. Place it on the stove, and within moments you can hear water singing, watch tiny bubbles dancing at the bottom, blanching greens, boiling soba noodles. or making a steaming bowl of miso soup for breakfast, all of it happens at remarkable speed. It does not just save you minutes, it gives back moments, freeing you from wasted waiting. And that hammered surface, it is not a decorative accident. In Japanese culture, it is the mark of the human hand, the beauty of intentional imperfection. But functionally, those dimples are wisdom. They increase surface area, allowing the pot to embrace the flame, spreading heat more evenly and more quickly. More than that, they create a gentle circulation inside, preventing water from boiling over, something I constantly struggled with in flat-bottomed pots. And then there are the twin spouts, small but deeply thoughtful. How many times have you wrestled with a hot pot, trying to pour broth without spilling it everywhere? With the Yukihira, the act becomes graceful, precise, not a drop wasted. Its versatility is not listed in a manual. It is discovered meal by meal. With a splash of sesame oil, it becomes the perfect little stir-fry pan. Because it is so light, tossing vegetables feels like a joy, a dance rather than a chore. I use it to make delicate sauces, where instant heat response gives me complete control, pulling the pot from the stove at the exact second it reaches perfection. Not a heartbeat late, it is the pot I use for warming a cup of milk at night, boiling a few eggs in the morning, or cooking a small bowl of porridge when I am unwell. But the most surprising discovery, the one that convinced me to let go of nearly all my other pots, came when I used it for deep frying. The thought of dragging out a massive deep pan, pouring in liters of oil just to fry a few pieces of tempura or a handful of karaage for one meal, it always felt like such a waste. The Yukihira, small and high-sided, solved everything. Just a modest amount of oil, heated in seconds, and it holds the temperature steady. Everything becomes neat, efficient, economical. True usefulness does not shout, it simply serves. Now, the pasta pot, the soup pot, the milk pot, the small stir-fry pan, the sauce pot, even the deep fryer, all those roles have been taken over by one humble Yukihira. My kitchen cabinet is no longer a puzzle of clutter. It has space, it has calm. The Yukihira has taught me that greatness is not in grand appearances or in complexity. It is in dedication, in adaptability, and in the quiet way it makes our lives better, day after day. 3. The all-in-one pan, the silent hero. On the journey to simplify, finding one pan that could do it all was perhaps the greatest challenge. If the Santoku knife resolved the chaos of my drawer and the Yukihira pot brought agility, then the pan was the puzzle of space and the diversity of cooking techniques. My kitchen cabinet once stood as a monument to that confusion. There was a flat-bottomed steel frying pan, perfect for searing a steak, but a nightmare when stir-frying vegetables, because everything spilled over. There was a thin, non-stick pan, the loyal friend of crispy skinned fish, but it trembled before high heat. And of course, the heavy cast iron skillet, an heirloom built to last generations, yet dragging it out just to make a quick Tuesday dinner felt like a battle of endurance. Each pan had its strength, but together, they created the burden of choice and a suffocating cabinet. The answer I found was not a brand new invention, but le raffinement, a philosophy born in Japan, the deep multi-purpose frying pan, or fukagata furaipan. It is not as large and specialized as a Chinese wok, nor as shallow and flat as a Western skillet. It is the perfect hybrid, born from the understanding that home cooking does not need extreme specialization, but ultimate flexibility, with a moderate diameter, a base wide enough for excellent heat contact, and most importantly, a gently curved, elevated wall. Just that one small change, and an entire world opened. The first thing it freed me from was the fear of stir-frying. With my old pans, every toss came with hesitation. worrying that vegetables or rice would go flying across the stove. But with the depth and breadth of this pan, cooking became expressive, even theatrical. I could confidently flip a full mound of fried rice, watching each grain soak in soy sauce and heat, without a single one falling astray. Morning Glory, stir-fried with garlic, stayed crisp and green because it could move quickly and evenly in such a spacious arena. The task of cooking shifted from careful restraint to a free-spirited performance, but the real magic revealed itself when I realized it was not just a pan. Its depth was an invitation to possibilities. One afternoon, while making chicken curry, I began as usual by searing the meat, planning to transfer everything into a pot to simmer. Then I paused, staring at the deep pan. Why use two vessels? I simply added coconut milk and vegetables directly into the pan, the golden caramelized bits from searing the chicken. Those precious flavors stuck to the bottom, now melted right into the sauce. No flavors lost in transfer. Fewer dishes to wash. A richer, more cohesive meal. Two steps collapsed into one, and it went even further. The bamboo steamer I rarely used because of its bulk could finally retire. With just a small steaming rack set inside the pan, a splash of water, and a lid, I had a perfect steaming system. Fluffy buns, bright green broccoli, or a fillet of cod with ginger, all steamed gently, all perfectly done. Of course, its original frying purpose remained flawless. Its flat base still delivered a golden crust to tofu, or seared salmon, until the skin bubbled and crackled with delight. Flexibility does not come from owning everything, but from one thing becoming everything. This Japanese deep multi-purpose pan is living proof of that truth. It replaced my stir-fry pan, my frying pan, my medium stew pot, even my steamer. It is not the absolute best tool for any single task, but it is the best companion for all the tasks that truly matter day to day. It cleared space from my cabinet, and more importantly, it cleared space in my mind, freeing me from trivial decisions so I could focus on the only thing that really matters, the joy of creating a good meal. 4. The Benriner mandolin, the precision machine. In my old kitchen, there once lived a monster of plastic and metal, weighing nearly 5 kilograms. The food processor. I brought it home with a dream of ultimate efficiency, a promise that every task of slicing, grating, and chopping would be solved at the push of a button. And yes, it delivered. It could turn a carrot into hundreds of paper-thin slices in 3 seconds, roaring like the engine of an airplane. But behind those 3 seconds of speed was another story: 5 minutes of fumbling with attachments, blades, and lids, trying to make them click into place. The hesitation of dragging out a hulking machine just to chop a single onion. And worst of all, 15 minutes afterward, dismantling every sharp blade, every crevice, every tiny rubber seal, scrubbing and soaking piece after piece. A machine designed to save me time ended up stealing it, along with my energy. It became a lazy king, reigning in the corner cabinet, powerful, but rarely summoned. And then, another revolution arrived, not with a roar, but in near silence. It came in the form of something small, humble, needing no cord at all, bearing the name Benriner. At its core, it was nothing more than a slim sheet of plastic, an adjustable razor-sharp blade, and a few interchangeable serrated inserts. I admit, the first time I held it, I felt hesitation, almost fear. Its reputation for sharpness was notorious, but that hesitation was the beginning of an important lesson. The old machine allowed me to work absent-mindedly, press a button, stand back, and watch. The Benriner was different. It demanded my presence. It asked for my focus, my respect, and my care in every motion. The handguard was not an inconvenience. but a ritual, a reminder to stay connected to the act itself. And once that connection was made, a world of precision and beauty unfolded. With a simple turn of a screw, I could decide the thickness of every slice. Cucumbers so thin the light passed through them, dissolving on the tongue. Potatoes cut into identical sheets for gratin, ensuring every layer cooked to perfection. Its sound was not a roar, but a soft, steady whisper. Shh. Shh. The sound of creation taking shape. What once felt like tedious prep work became a moving meditation. Its true power revealed itself when I slid in the serrated blades. In minutes, I could create a mountain of glistening carrot and daikon strands, crisp and ready for pickling something that would have taken me all morning with a knife. The larger blade gave me flawless potato sticks, ready for a golden batch of French fries. The smallest one turned green papaya into silken threads, soaking up sweet and sour fish sauce for a vibrant salad. It was not only faster, it was better. Unlike the high-speed blades of the processor, which crushed and bruised produce, the Benriner's clean, decisive cuts, preserved crunch, freshness, and color. Efficiency is not in the brute strength of a machine, but in the skill of the hand. The Benriner taught me that, and the final, sweetest lesson came at the sink. Instead of a battlefield of parts to scrub, cleaning the Benriner meant nothing more than rinsing it under running water, brushing the blade lightly, and hanging it to dry. The entire process took less than a minute. The 5-kilogram machine was given away, replaced by a tool weighing only a few hundred grams. It did not just give back space in my cabinet, it gave back joy, stillness, and the feeling of complete control over my cooking. 5. The Suribachi set. The art of grinding. In a world of buttons and speed, there is one tool that invites us to slow down, to listen, to feel, and to remember that our hands are the most ancient and refined cooking instruments of all. In the past, preparing spices in my kitchen was a symphony of machines. The piercing whine of an electric grinder crushing peppercorns in seconds, the harsh click of a metal garlic press. Everything was fast, efficient, and soulless. I got the result, but I lost the process. I stood on the sidelines, a mere operator of machines, not a cook truly engaging with ingredients. I used to wonder, why would anyone need a bulky mortar and pestle when technology gave me speed and power? The answer came one afternoon, when I first laid my hands on the Suribachi and Surikogi. The Suribachi, a heavy ceramic bowl, its interior carved with precise grooves, spiraling in perfect order. The Surikogi, a wooden pestle, rustic, warm, and alive in the palm of my hand. It did not feel like a tool, but like a piece of art carrying centuries of tradition. And when I dropped in the first roasted sesame seeds, something miraculous happened. Instead of the roar of a motor, I heard something entirely different. A gentle, melodic rustle as the wooden pestle began its dialogue with the sesame seeds and the ceramic grooves. It was the sound of transformation, organic and meditative. Then, the aroma began to rise. Not a sudden explosion of fragrance, like when opening the lid of a grinder. No. This was a slow unfurling. The scent of toasted sesame released layer by layer, richer, warmer, more complex than anything I had experienced before. That was the moment I understood. The electric grinder, with its blades spinning violently at high speed, slashed and tore ingredients apart, generating heat that stripped away delicate oils before they could even reach the dish. The Suribachi was different. It did not use violence. It used patience. You were grinding, pressing, persuading the cells to open slowly, releasing their essence in the purest way possible. The difference became even clearer with garlic. A metal garlic press always left a sharp, bitter bite, a chemical reaction born of brutal crushing. But when pounded gently in the Suribachi, garlic transformed into a soft, fragrant paste with a sweet undertone. My difficult-to-clean garlic press, forever stained with odor, was finally laid to rest. Soon, the mortar became the center of creation. I used it to make sesame dressing, grinding seeds until they turned into a silky paste, blending seamlessly with other flavors right inside the bowl. I made pesto, feeling the transformation of basil, pine nuts, and cheese as they fused into one. Preparing spices was no longer just a step, it became a ritual. And the most beautiful part? When finished, the same humble ceramic bowl became a serving dish on the table. One tool with 3 lives: grinding, mixing, and presenting. True flavor is not created by speed, it is awakened through patience. The Suribachi and Surikogi replaced my spice grinder, my garlic press, and even my mixing bowls. But more importantly, they changed the rhythm of my kitchen. They taught me to listen, to feel, and reminded me that sometimes slowing down is not a waste of time. It is the only way to touch the essence itself. 6. The multi-cooker, the brain of the kitchen. After a journey honoring the beauty of handcrafted tools, of slowness and connection, I want to introduce an exception. A machine, a piece of complex technology. At first glance, you might think this is a contradiction. But not all machines are created the same. Some steal your space and your attention, while others are born to give both back to you. And here it is, the central brain of my minimalist kitchen, the Japanese multifunctional induction rice cooker. Forget the rice cooker with just 2 buttons. Cook and keep warm, that we all know. This is an entirely different realm. My countertop once looked like an exhibition of appliances. The basic rice cooker, next to it, a massive slow cooker, then a pressure cooker resembling a mini spaceship, and a bulky electric steamer, each with one function, each with one cord, all together creating a mess of clutter in both sight and purpose. I was exhausted by the constant choosing, moving, and cleaning. And then I discovered the philosophy of all-in-one, contained within a single device. First, let us speak of its most basic function: cooking rice. Induction heating, IH technology, does not just heat from the bottom, it creates a magnetic field, turning the entire pot itself into a source of heat, wrapping each grain of rice in even warmth. The result is not merely cooked rice, it is awakened rice. Each grain becomes glossy, tender, fragrant, carrying a deep sweetness I had never known before. Just by perfecting this core mission, it earned my trust. But that was only the first door. The real magic hides behind the menu buttons. There is the Oko porridge mode. Simply rinse the rice, add water, press a button, and forget it. Hours later, a bowl of silky, comforting porridge awaits, with no fear of burning or boiling over. There are modes for brown rice and multigrains, ensuring every type cooks to perfection. But the true turning point came when it replaced all those hulking machines. I began using the stew function. I placed beef, carrots, onions into the pot, set the timer, and left the house. When I returned, the home was filled with the aroma of tender, richly flavored beef stew, the kind that once demanded a slow cooker sitting all day in the corner of my kitchen. The fear of the noisy pressure cooker also disappeared. Many advanced models come with pressure functions, letting me make a clear, golden broth in just an hour. Safe, quiet, efficient. The steaming function was another revelation. With the included tray, I could cook rice below while steaming salmon or broccoli above. One button, one cook, one complete, balanced meal finished at once. And the most delightful surprise, the one that made me truly smile, was the baking function. I was skeptical, but I tried a Japanese cheesecake. The result was extraordinary. Evenly risen, moist, golden, every bit as good as an oven-baked cake for simple recipes. The best technology is not the most complicated one, but the one that gives you freedom. This multifunctional rice cooker embodies that philosophy. It replaced my old rice cooker, my pressure cooker, my slow cooker, my electric steamer, and even part of my oven's work. It is not a tool I operate. It is a diligent, reliable assistant. It automates the tasks that demand time, precision, and patience, freeing me, the cook, to devote myself fully to the best part, creativity and flavor. It proves that minimalism does not mean rejecting technology, but knowing how to use it so that life becomes simpler. 7. The Zojirushi water boiler, the keeper of calm. The final tool on our journey is not one that creates a dish, it is one that creates stillness. It does not join the noisy, bustling steps of cooking. Instead, it works quietly in the background, a diligent steward, ensuring that one of life's most basic and comforting elements, hot water, is always waiting for you. This is the Japanese thermal-electric water boiler. To understand its value, let us recall the small inconveniences we often accept as part of daily life. The shrill whistle of a kettle breaking the calm of the morning, 5 minutes of waiting by the stove just to enjoy a cup of tea, that lazy hesitation in the afternoon when you crave something warm but dread starting the entire boiling process all over again. My old kitchen was filled with these repeated interruptions. I had a stovetop kettle, an electric kettle, even a few old-fashioned thermos flasks, but they all worked on the same principle of reaction. Only when I needed hot water would I begin. The Japanese water boiler follows an entirely different philosophy, the philosophy of readiness. It taught me a simple morning ritual. Instead of rushing to boil a small pot of water, I fill the boiler, press a button, and begin my day. One single boil. After that, it stands guard, keeping the water hot at perfectly calibrated temperatures. 98 degrees Celsius for a bowl of instant udon, 90 degrees, the golden point for coffee, releasing its full flavor without burning, or 80 degrees, ideal for a delicate pot of sencha green tea. You have to live with it to truly feel the subtle transformation it brings. It is the feeling of absolute freedom. At any moment of the day, whenever the thought of warmth crosses my mind, I can simply step over, place a cup under the spout, and press a button. A stream of water flows out, at the exact right temperature, with no noise, no waiting. It turns making a cup of tea from a series of steps into an instant act of enjoyment. In preparing dinner, I no longer wait for cold water to come to a boil. I draw hot water straight from the boiler, cutting the time of blanching vegetables or boiling noodles in half. The rhythm of cooking becomes smooth, with no pauses, no breaks. Perhaps you worry that keeping water hot all day must consume enormous energy. I once feared the same, but the answer lies in advanced vacuum insulation, perfected by Japanese makers such as Zojirushi. The insulation is so effective that the boiler requires only a minimal amount of energy to maintain temperature. In fact, it saves more electricity than repeatedly reheating water in a kettle. And that same insulation makes it a perfect portable thermos whenever needed. Peace does not come from grand gestures, but from removing small annoyances. This water boiler is the clearest proof of that. It replaced my stovetop kettle and my electric kettle. It does not slice, it does not stir-fry, it does not stew, but it manages and optimizes a fundamental resource, freeing me from countless small waits throughout the day. It ensures that comfort and warmth are always within reach. It is the final piece, the one that completes a kitchen not only simplified in material things, but simplified in burdens, transforming the home into a true refuge, where stillness itself is always ready to serve you. And so, our journey in this kitchen comes to a gentle close. 7 tools, but more importantly, a shift in perception. The kitchen is no longer a battlefield of clutter, but a space of stillness, where I can finally take a deep breath, a place where cooking is no longer a duty, but a meditative act. Minimalism, after all, is not a race to see who can throw away the most. It is a quiet dialogue with oneself to truly understand what brings value, what nourishes the soul. My kitchen now holds less, yet I feel fuller than ever. Because each item that remains is an intentional choice, a reliable companion. I hope this little story has sparked something within you. Perhaps your own journey will begin with a simple question as you stand in your kitchen. What here is truly serving me, and what is simply wearing me down? This journey becomes more meaningful when it is shared. I would love to hear your story. Among the companions I have introduced, is there one that you feel drawn to? Or perhaps, in your own kitchen, there already lies a minimalist philosophy waiting to be told? Please share your reflections in the comments below. And if you resonate with this slower rhythm, a like and a subscribe will be the sign that we can continue walking together in future videos. Your support is the warmest energy I could ever receive. Thank you for walking this path with me. May you soon discover peace and true joy, right there, in the familiar fragrance of your own kitchen.